The book that I have chosen for this project is About a Bear by Holly Surprise. An element of a good book design is the size and the shape of the pages. David Russell, the author of our textbook, says most books are wider than they are high. As we can see, this book fits those descriptions, making this book a good illustration book. Russell says that we associate very small books and very large books with the youngest readers. Small books for little hands and large books are eye-catching. In fact, there's a whole section in our local library here in Fallbrook where the picture books are the same size and shape like About a Bear, and this book is no exception. As we move on to the first page, we can see here a lot of colorful, very emotional colors. And as we will see for the first page of the story, we can see here the title is About a Bear and the author. We can see the color that's surrounding it, which we'll talk about later. But on the very first page, the psychologist say that color can be very emotional. Psychology tells us that yellow and red are warm colors and suggest excitement. And this is exactly what we see in this first page of this book. And the color itself is full of warm colors. We can see here the red, the yellow. It represents emotion, it represents excitement, happiness, and which tells children that this book is a very exciting and a fun book to read. The author did a very good job by using these colors. Now, continuing with colors, on the next page, we see the text is very minimal. It says a bear can be sad, and then we see here that unlike the other pages where blue was in the background and was just depicting the sky, here blue is normally suiting with melancholic. And on this particular page, we can see how the blue is mainly the dominant color, and so that kind of shows why the bear or how the bear is sad. So the author did a very good job of associating that with the colors. Although we see some other colors here with the butterflies, where the bear is actually at is very bluish, sad, which is what David Russell talks in his book about the color. And there's only like one butterfly flying here, but in the corner he kind of by himself with the bluish background. So that really shows, really uses that element of blue as depicting kind of like a lonely, sad, loneliness and just being by himself. Now on the other page, we can see how not only by the text where it says a bear can be bored, but we can just see it in the actual colors and shape that are being used. On this page, the bear is bored. His behavior depicts what the text says. We can see the tension of boredom of the bear by the fact that he is sliding upside down off the tree. And just the other day, my friend came over with his kids, younger kids, and after we've been talking for a while, I actually saw this sort of behavior. Like one of his kids, one of his little girls, started like having this same body language on the sofa, asking like, "Hey, when are we gonna go? Can we go outside and play?" So it's interesting how such a simple book like this shows the attitude of kids. So when they read it, they can either associate themselves with it, or they can learn from it on how to act when you're bored. So now we move on to the next page, and here it's we see a lot of colors, like I was talking in the beginning, and the text says, and the bear can be glad. And on this page, we the bear is overjoyed. The color says it all. Yellow, purple, and red are all mixed up together, and the bear skipping. In order for a book to be brilliant, both the text and the picture have to work together. On this page, we can see a lot of the element of space, which is another important element. And Russell says, If a page contains a great deal of space surrounding a single subject, all our attention goes to that project. Here on this main page, the bear is the main subject. We can see it as we will see it in the next page too. But here I want to start it off how, unlike other pages, there's other elements and other pictures or even other books that aren't for kids. You can see a lot of other things. But here, the space, there's a lot of space just to focus on the bear. And I think that actually fits more like right here. Um, there's not a lot in here. It says the bear can be puzzled, and again we can see here what Russell says, that how the space is very important. The element of space is very important because on this page we can see that the main subject is the bear. Unlike other pages we saw like the butterflies and all that, here is mainly like the bear. We can see all this space right here. There's no extra color. It's just mainly on the bear and the turtle. So we can just see that focus right there. So the element of space is very important. And then we moved on to the next page. We can see here the round shape of the bear in this page suggests his comfortableness. This is due to the fact that round shapes elicit comfort, security, and stability. And then lines is another important element in picture book, in illustration book. Along with the rounded shapes, horizontal, we can kind of see here the horizontal lines that are being used by the author, which horizontal lines, they represent or show calm and stability. So we can kind of see it in the bear. He's calm, he's wanting to scratch, and says, and sometimes the bear has to scratch himself or his behind. So we can see here he's comfortable, he's feeling comfortable with scratching himself. We can see it by the round shape, and we can also see it by the horizontal lines. And then we moved on to the next page, which let's see here with the circle. And then one of the things that I got when I was reading the book is, we can see here the circle shape. And if we pay attention to what the book says, and we see these circles on the fruits, it's used to suggest emotion. See, the bear is angry and is looking for a treat. So we can see here how this can depict and suggest emotion, whether it's a bear can be very angry and sniff out a tree. We can kind of see the oval shapes. I mean the circle shapes here in the fruit. So that's what I got from this page. And then we go to the next page. And then here, as I was talking about lines earlier, which is an important element of illustration and picture book, unlike horizontal lines where they suggest calm and stability, vertical lines, where we can see here, you can see the vertical lines on the trees. Vertical lines, they actually suggest height and distance. So on the first page, right here, we can see the tree. We can see more of the line and suggesting the height and the distance. But as we progress in the page, as we can see here, we can see now the bear. Here we can only see the bear a little bit. Now here we can see him kind of in the middle, so he's making progress of the distance and the height. And then finally here we see him on the top, all the way get into the honey. It says, and no bear can resist something sticky and sweet. So in order to get to that distance, in order to show the distance and the height of where the honey is, where the honey comes at, the vertical lines are used to show height and distance, which is very smart and creative on the author's part to use the height and the distance, and then the distance of the bear cover as we progress in the pages. So finally, Russell says that children identify themselves with the character, and in most books, protagonists are either young children or animals. So in a good illustration book, the main character or the protagonist is usually a small child or a younger child or an animal. In this case, our character is a bear, and as I will kind of show the last couple pages, we can see here the bear is our main character, although there's some other animals surrounding him, the main character is the bear, and it says the bear can be silly and possibly slip. So we can see here that it's all about the bear, and then here we have the bear as the protagonist who is going through different situations that children can go through. I mean, children can be silly and possibly they can slip and fall. And then, but also, it says, but luckily a bear makes very good ships, and so this can kind of what the bear is going through and what he's being. A bear can be sleepy. Kids can be sleepy when to take a nap after they have maybe eaten or through the middle of the day, and then they need a bear hug. So kind of like the kids can associate themselves with this bear because he's going through different stages or different there's elements. By the elements that are being used, they're going through different stages in life and different situations. So so as children can identify themselves with this bear going through different situations. Some of the best picture book has minimal text. As we can see, this book didn't have a lot of text, didn't have a complex wording, and Russell says as well that a good book, some of the best picture book have minimal text, since illustration are expected to carry at least half of the storyline. And in this book, we saw from beginning to end, along with the text, then cuddle up right, snug and as a hug. And although the text is there, we can see it. We can see the illustration carrying out um, at least half of the storyline of the story plot. So this is the book that I've chosen to do for my project, and it finishes up with all the colors. And I really enjoyed it because it taught me a lot of things about how a picture book is done. At first, I was thinking about picking another book that would have not been appropriate for this project, but after I lecture and reading the book and using a lot of elements that I learned, I was able to pick this book up, and it's a really good book. And I suggest it to parents with younger children to read it with them and just see the different elements that this book has to offer. Okay.